Well, hello and welcome back to episode 10 of On the Tee with H&B. I'm DJ Jones, Major Haversham's Lieutenant for Social Media, and today we'd like to kick things off by wishing the members of the H&B forces plenty of fairways and greens as they take on the magnificent Kings course at Glen Eagles. Designed by five-time Open champion James Braid, our members will soon learn why it is that the Kings is regarded by many to be the finest inland course in all of Britain. As we do each week, we'd like to salute our latest field reports from the forces. If you're traveling on an H&B expedition or just happen to find yourself on a famous links course, remember to tag us anytime at Haversham Baker across social media. We love seeing those field reports, and you just might see it on an upcoming episode of On the Tee. So today we're paying a visit to Northern Ireland and the incomparable Ardglass Golf Club. When your neighbors are Royal County Down and Royal Portrush, standing out in the crowd is no easy task, but it's a job that Ardglass takes in stride. We recently sat down with Director of Golf Paul Vaughan for a little of his insight in what's new with this historic club, and we invite you to take a listen. Well, Paul, welcome to On the Tee with H&B. We appreciate you beaming in from the Emerald Isle this morning.
No, DJ, thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
How are things looking out on the links today?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. We've had a really good spell of weather over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks with 1 or 2 days rain in between, which is pretty rare for us. So it's been good and things have been busy, and the forecast looks good for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So all positive there.
Well, our members of the forces will take as many sunny days at Ardglass as they can get. But before we get to all things Ardglass, tell us a little about yourself, Paul. How did you come to the club?
Yeah, well, I pretty much I've grown up at Ardglass from a golf point of view all my life. So I'm from a wee village called Culloch, which is a couple of miles away from Ardglass here. But it's pretty much been golf from a very young age. My older brother was a golfer, so he introduced me to golf, and it's pretty much just been golf since then. And I started working here at Ardglass probably as a maybe 13, 14-year-old as a caddy, and then I worked in the bar upstairs, and through caddying and bar it was pretty good to allow me plenty of golf as a kid growing up. And then I got a wee bit more serious and finished school, and I was very keen to turn pro, and I started that in a local golf club called Downpatrick, which is now been renamed St. Patrick's. So I was in there for a few years, and then I came back here in 2006, I think it was, to finish my PGA training, and pretty much on from there. And I've been head pro here since 2011, and then in conjunction with that, I'm director of golf since 2015. So it's all been pretty progressive and busy and pretty interesting along the way.
From caddy to F&B and now director of golf, you've sort of covered all the bases throughout your career.
Yes, definitely. From an Ardglass point of view, definitely, for sure.
Well, Ardglass has been a favorite stop for the H&B forces for quite some time, but in recent years, your star has just continued to rise. For those who are unfamiliar with the club, though, give us a little backstory on Ardglass.
Yeah, like the profile of Ardglass has very much grown from a tourist point of view for the last probably 8-9 years now, and the likes of yourselves that have been a big part of that, and it's a huge help. But the profile has gone, it's been huge. The amount of uptake we've had, social media has been huge for us, and the amount of visitors that we get on the back of that. It's just been serious. We have, we didn't change an awful lot. We just tried to get our names out there a little bit more, to get our profile out there a little bit more, and we're now reaping the rewards of that with a solid membership base. Pretty much a members golf club who welcome visitors. The membership base is very solid, and the visitor income is growing, which is allowing us to redevelop and put the money back into the golf club.
Tell us a little more about that reinvestment. What's new at the course and the club in general?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago now, we decided we would bring in a golf course architect, and it was based on the back of a greens committee being formed, and we made some decisions which I think they would all agree were wrong decisions. and we realised quickly that it should be a professional doing these things. So we brought in a guy called Ken Kearney Design, which has been great for us. Ken put a 5-year plan together. We're 2 years into that, probably 2 phases in total, and what we've done so far has been pretty much started to change the bunkers that we've had into revetted link style bunkers, and we've done that over holes 2, 3, which was the first phase, and then the second phase was pretty much holes 8, 13, 14, and new practice facilities. So the changes on all those holes have been, for the time being, it's been pretty much new bunkers, additional bunkers, and refurbished bunkers into revetted link style.
So how have the changes been received? And you mentioned it's a 5-year plan. What's kind of out in the future, if you will?
Yeah, so the reaction so far has been great. We're very much keen to hear the members' feedback. The members have bought into it very, very well. And the long-term plans would be, new tee complexes, new green complexes. There's a plan there for a 9-hole par 3 academy course. So while the 5-year plan is in place, it's probably going to be realistically more of a 10-year plan. But it won't be. It's not fixed. There's a bones of a plan. It's not fixed, and at the end of the day, it'll be guided by the members and the feedback as to how well these changes are being made over a period of time. But very exciting times.
Well, you mentioned social media, and one of my favorite things to see in the Twitter feed are your sunrise posts from the first tee, and the cannons are sort of pointing down the first fairway. To the untrained eye, it may seem a little odd that there's cannons at a golf course, but for Ardglass, there's a pretty important reason. Tell us about your clubhouse.
Yeah, the clubhouse here is what's seen as it's a very special place. So it's been the clubhouse pretty much from day one. 1896, the golf club was formed, but the clubhouse goes back to 1405. And you'll see in some of our pictures we have a plaque at the front of the clubhouse to show that. So it operated basically as a warehouse, safe haven back in them days, and then pretty much became the clubhouse from day one in 1896. And even since then, we've had families that have lived in the clubhouse, and most recently that would have been our previous club steward, Sean Johnson. He and his family lived in the clubhouse up until probably 15, 20 years ago. Might be slightly more. I must firm that date up with him actually. But his kids lived in it, and they're the same age as me, so it's not that long ago, and I'm not that old.
True enough. Well, when you've got a clubhouse that's some 600 years old, it kind of begs the question: any chance that it's haunted?
Well, there has been a few stories out there. Thankfully, I've never really experienced anything concrete myself. There's a few weird things have happened, but you sort of just put it down to your own mind, maybe playing tricks with you. Like I use one of the stores around the back as a store and a basic club workshop place, and I maybe do a few repairs in the evenings when the shop closes, and I have a radio and stuff down there, and I remember specifically turning the radio off one evening when I left, and then I was first in the next morning and the radio was still on. So, and then you start to think, no, I must have forgot to turn it off. But you start to play tricks with your own mind. But there are a few stories. Even Sean that I mentioned, he has stories. And then Shirley that still works in the bar, worked under him, and she has a few stories of locking up at night and stuff like that. So they're nice to listen to at times, but not when you're opening up here on a winter's morning and it's dark and you're going through the door on your own. It's interesting, I can tell you.
Early mornings at Ardglass, not for the faint of heart, and certainly not for anyone who has a nagging duck hook off the tee. You're home to perhaps the most daunting opening duo of holes in golf. Tell us a little more about them.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most special things for me is when you arrive here at Ardglass in the mornings and the sunrise is just out beyond the pro shop door and it's just beyond the first tee box, and those are some of the best photographs that I have, which you alluded to there. But the first 5 holes at Ardglass it's pretty much, and you've heard it before and you've used it, is you don't go left. You have all of Ireland to the right, and they're not long holes, but they look more daunting than what they actually are. But You need to keep it straight. You need to be smart. The ground's very firm at this time of the year, so you need to bounce it short and let it feed in when it turns into real link style golf at this time of the year. The interesting thing is that we can see the REC from every tee box, fairway and green at Ardglass, and on more than 9 holes, that water actually comes into play. So we pride ourselves on the views and the scenery that we have, and being able to see those views as you play golf is pretty special to us, and that's the feedback we get. And some of the photographs we have are just special, really nice.
Well, if there's one thing that comes pretty easy at Ardglass, it's spectacular photos. But what doesn't come easy is the tee shot on number 2. Going back to the 5-year plan, you've put some new bunkers up the right side of that hole, par 3, and taken away some of the bailout for those who are keeping in mind the advice that all of Ireland is to the right.
Yeah, so on 2, we always only ever had one bunker. So we refurbished that and left that there, and it's pretty much a pot-style bunker left of the green. And in fairness, I think it's made that bunker shot a little bit easier, but the presentation of it's much better. But yes, we put one in on the right-hand side. The interesting thing is it's not green side; it's pretty much 20 yards short of the green. So you have to fly your ball, 150 to carry it, and it all feeds towards the pin on the right hand side there. But the interesting thing is, and if you stand on the edge of that tee box, you've got about an 80 to 100 foot drop in front of you, so you have to carry that first, and a little bit of mind over matter. So you have to be positive on that tee box. But a very special hole. It's one of our signature holes, along with 11, 12, and 13 in and around that corner of Coney Island on the new holes. So I mentioned that, like, whenever we first opened, we were 9 holes, and it wasn't until the late 1960s where we moved to 18 holes. And then most recently, back in 2004, we updated holes 9, 10, and 11. They're new holes, which meant we had to close other holes. But it brings you out around Coney Island and brings those sea views in even more. They've been very positive and gone down very well.
Well, as we said, the course is just chock full of unforgettable spots. But for the member of the H&B forces heading your way, what are your favorite places around the links that they should look out for?
It probably goes back to what I said there. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything more special for me about Ardglass than standing on the first tee box, especially on a morning where the sun is just rising in the background, and that tee shot and hitting over the water is pretty special. The second's another favourite. And 11 and 12, as I've mentioned, but for me it's number 1. It's the tee shot number 1. The hole's 333 yards, but as you stand in that tee box to get to the fairway, it looks a hell of a lot longer than 165 yards. So it turns into like good players can hit a fairway wood and a wedge in, and again, you don't know what the wind's going to do, so it can play 280 some days, or it can play 600 yards, whatever way the wind's going. It can be very interesting. But to answer your question, the favourite thing for me is the first tee box.
Well, I know you are far from alone in that opinion. The round certainly starts with a bang, pun absolutely intended, with the cannons there by the first tee. But Paul, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We'll let you get back to it, but we're looking forward to many more memories throughout this season and in the years to come at Ardglass. No,
DJ, thanks for making the call. Thanks for having me on, and it goes without saying thanks to Havers and Baker for everything they do for us. It's much appreciated and doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you very much to you and the team.
Well, it is absolutely our pleasure. Cheers, Paul.
Cheers, thank you.
And a special thanks once again to Paul Vaughan for joining us today. If you'd like to keep up with all things Ardglass, we suggest giving them a follow on social media. The club is at Ardglass Golf on Twitter and at Ardglass Golf Club on Instagram. And if you'd like a daily dose of Paul's inspiring tweets from the first tee, we suggest giving him a follow as well. He is at Paul Vaughan Pro on both Twitter and Instagram. So with that, episode 10 is going to draw to a close. The show is going to go on a little bit of hiatus for the next couple months, but not to worry. We'll be back in the fall with a whole series of new episodes. But until then, we appreciate you joining us, and we wish you plenty of golf at its finest and life at its best.